Hello again out there, La-di-das and national spectators. Welcome to another episode of the La-di-da Times, the video edition. I am Jeff Cougar Kozlowski, recording to you live from my backyard, and that means it is almost time for some La-di-da baseball season action. It is nice to get out from the inside, get out and enjoy the beautiful weather that we have here, and so it's good to do this here, and it's also good to do it with my friend and fellow La-di-da, Marcus Razorback Dixon. Marcus, happy to have you again.
Always good to be here.
So we are only at the time of this recording just a few days away from the very first weekend of the 2026 season of 1867 baseball. And even then, we're not starting in 1867. We are starting in a different year than we traditionally play, but it is for a reason that I think is incredibly important, and I think is really, really necessary that it gets acknowledged here. The weekend of June 13th and 14th will be the hosting of the Greenfield Village Block Party, where we are officially welcoming the Jackson House to the neighborhood. The Jackson House is our newest addition, or one of the first houses that we've had put in Greenfield Village, I think since the Firestone House in the mid 80s. We've had additions to Greenfield Village. We've had the big renovation in 2003, but to have a house of this significance is a mighty, mighty big deal here. And Marcus, we're doing something special. I think we're doing something really, really special, not just as an institution overall, but we're doing something really special for us and the baseball program. Tell us about it. How is this game that we're going to be playing on the weekend of the 13th and 14th? How is it different? What are we honoring? Who are we honoring? Because this is, to me, I think, one of the biggest weekends that we've had in a long, long time.
Well, the weekend, the block party weekend is really all centered around civil rights and centered around the issues that were important with looking at rights of all people within the United States, especially African American rights. And the baseball program wanted to contribute in the way that we can, that is true to our program and true to that topic. And so we looked to a very famous event actually that took place in Philadelphia in 1869. And let me just give a quick history to lead up to that. Coming out of the Civil War, the National Association of Baseball Players was trying to expand its reach and truly to be a national association. And so the way that they saw best to do that was they wanted to expand into the former Confederacy following the end of the Civil War. There was a lot of resistance, not only to the National Association, but even to baseball as it was played, because it was called New York Rules Baseball. There was a lot of resistance there. And in one of, I think, the shameful moments of the National Association, they established a policy at the December of 1867 annual meeting, which was to ban clubs that were members of the National Association from either having members of their club that were what then would have been referred to as colored players, or from playing against clubs that were made up of colored players. The rationale was that the Southern clubs would never join the association if they were joining an association that compelled them to be members with clubs that were included African Americans. And I think part of the shameful part of the National Association was their rationale, where they said, by separating these, the colored clubs will be able to get up games against their own compatriots, and thus, here's the line, no one will be offended. So it was the drawing of the first color line in baseball happened at that December of 1867 meeting. Well, many people over the decades have seen baseball as a key part of America and a key part of the civil rights movement, of going to Jackie Robinson and not just the importance of him playing baseball, but what it meant to have an African American superstar playing baseball. So a club in Philadelphia called the Pythians. It was an African-American club that was well known, one of the best African-American clubs in Philadelphia, of which there were several, joined with one of the absolute oldest baseball clubs in the country, the Olympics of Philadelphia, a white club that had been around since 1833. And they played in September of 1869. They played what at the time was believed to be the first interracial baseball game. We have since learned that there were some others that occurred earlier, but they were small clubs in small towns. This was the one that got national attention. It got national press. It was a big deal that an African-American club and a quote white club were playing against each other. So we've chosen to recreate that game between the Olympics and the Pythians using the rules of 1869. We've partnered with Hamtramck Stadium and the Friends of Hamtramck Stadium. That's one of the last remaining Negro League stadiums. They do a lot of work related to promoting civil rights. And so they will be representing the Pythian Club. And then the Lottie Daws will be representing the Olympics of Philadelphia. So we've been having practices, bringing these players together, making sure that everybody's up on these rules of 1869. And it'll be part of the whole block party weekend where we're celebrating the opening of the Jackson House, but also other things throughout the village and our baseball program contributing this important game. And there were some really important people who were involved.
Yeah, when you really dig into like the depths of the hope and the desire to grow baseball as the game. I mean, there's been references to baseball being the national pastime, for years, even before 1869, 1867 and all that. But when you look into like some of the newspapers at the time, like the newspapers at the time when they were reporting about the winter meetings, I remember reading these and researching these, and how just very spur of the moment, this vote of banning people of color from playing the game. There's like this really deep conversation about the size of the equipment. The baseball was changing, the bat was changing, and they're trying to reduce injuries. It just feels like somebody just up and nowhere just said, hey, can we draw the color line? And everybody just kind of went, yeah. And it was to Philadelphia's credit, as one of the newspapers of Philadelphia kind of stopped and went, wait a second, what did you guys just do? And so I think it's really, really critical that it's the Olympics out of Philadelphia that are jumping up and saying, no, hold on, I don't know if you guys really realize what's happening here. And we felt the ramifications for that, through Jackie Robinson. That's 80 years between Jackie Robinson and the drawing of the color line. Is the number of players that were harmed by this is, it's almost immeasurable. And so for us as the Lottie Daws to be able to do this is a very significant detail.
So one of the things I want to mention when Jeff talks about that drawing of the color line, he's leaving out an important element, which is that there is a book published by the Society for American Baseball Research on those winter meetings. And Jeff wrote the chapter about that 1867, December of 1867 meeting where that occurred. So he's got some background there. Part of what drove that decision was the Pythians. The Pythians applied for membership in the Philadelphia State Association, and the state associations were members of the National Association. So when the Pythians applied to join the Philadelphia Association, that would have made them members of the National Association. And the Philadelphia Association told them that they should withdraw their application so that they wouldn't be voted down. But then that moved that issue onto the floor for a vote at that 1867 December meeting. But a lot of that was driven by the captain of the Pythians, a man named Octavius Caddo, who was not just the captain of the baseball team, he was one of the best known African American leaders in Philadelphia, very strong pushing for voting rights, very well known for civil rights of that era throughout Philadelphia. And he saw baseball, as we have for many decades, as not just a sport, but as something that pushed society, that reflected society, and reflected what society could be. And so he pushed for the Pythians to be accepted into the National Association. And when they weren't, he began to look at these strategies to play white teams and connected with the Olympics. Caddo became even, continued to be active in a number of ways. And 2 years after that 1869 game, he was assassinated on the streets of Philadelphia on his way to vote in 1871. He was on his way to vote. He was accosted by a number of people and then murdered in the street. And the man who shot him was well known. Everyone knew who did it, and never held to account for that murder. So he gave his all in that effort and saw baseball as part of the effort to support civil rights. At the same time, we have to be honest that there were multiple motivations. There was the civil rights motivation. At the same time, both the Olympics and the Pythians knew that this game would bring in some revenue, and they both were in need of revenue. The Olympics were not the elite team they had once been, and the Pythians were trying to keep their season going. And so there were multiple motivations for the game that were acknowledged at the time. And to be completely honest, there were games that came after this one, including games where the Pythians defeated the White Blood. They did not. The Olympics beat the Pythians in the initial game, but to be honest, it didn't move the needle very much. It was a valiant effort and a first important effort that needs to be recognized, but the color line stayed put, so I think it's important to have those efforts. The fact that game was played allowed other efforts to come later, even if it didn't bring about massive change at that moment. So it's an important historic moment, and one that we're delighted to be recreating as part of the block party weekend representing the opening of the Jackson House.
Absolutely. And to couple this, I mean, Joe Marcus brings up the Jackson House. This is a hugely significant artifact that the institution acquired. It was something that had been in Selma, Alabama, and had been serving essentially as a museum in Selma. But it became time for us to look into the possibilities of acquiring it, and everybody that's been involved from the Jackson family to everybody within the Henry Ford, because moving a house, I mean, this was moved in two pieces over hundreds and hundreds of miles. There's so much that has to be taken into consideration with regard to the moving from its location in Selma to the actual drive all the way up. One of the people involved in that process is the La-Di-Da's own Brian Gettysburg Egan, who has documented this, and you can go on YouTube and find the videos, and includes him about having to talk to local police and how to get stoplights moved, and but it's all an incredibly important aspect of our nation's history. This is the building in which much of the information about the Selma marches took place inside this house. Dr. Martin Luther King stayed in this house while everything was going on. There's images and of Dr. King watching Lyndon Johnson sign the Voting Rights Act or give speeches pertaining to it from the living room right in the very front, which you can see. You can actually take tours through. There's a guided tour that will take visitors through. So you will have to get a reserve time. It is no additional cost once you're in. It is a free tour, but it is also, it's pretty tight moving throughout. but incredibly worth it. Every curator within, including once again the La-Di-Da Zone, Jim Johnson, was involved in the process as well. All of the details on the inside, it is truly just a monumental element here that's being added to Greenfield Village. So if we're talking about the block party, I want to bring up little bits about what's going to be happening, what's going to be going on this weekend. So Marcus, I'm going to leave you to the baseball aspect of it, because there is a pretty cool ceremony going on involving Hamtramck before. But they are doing, and this is straight from the website, we're talking about extended hours on Friday and Saturday. There will be a ribbon cutting ceremony. We're having numerous Black-owned businesses, at least 30 different vendors over at the Detroit Central Market over by Liberty Craftwork. Lots of music from lots of different genres will be there. Guest speakers are going to be coming in. 40 plus double Dutch. And that is, to me, like I can barely coordinate running from home to first and then rounding first going to second without cleating myself. I cannot even begin to fathom how double Dutch people can do it as well as they can. Dining options will be there. Lots of different vignettes all going through. Marcus, can you talk more towards the panel discussion that's going to be going on before the game?
Well, there is a panel discussion that will be, it's got multiple historians and some representatives of Detroit's Society for American Baseball Research community will also be participating, talking about baseball, not about the Olympics Pythians, but about the bigger issues that we discussed of baseball and race. And so that will be happening at 1 o'clock on Saturday, which gives time. That'll go from 1 to 2, and that will leave time for you to make it to the ball field for a 2:30, not a 1:30, but a 2:30 game on Saturday. And then we will be having a 1 o'clock game on Sunday. So we will be playing the Olympics Pythians on both days of this coming weekend. Muted.
I'm muted, yes. Sorry, my neighbor decided this was a great time to mow her lawn. The gentleman from Hamtramck that will be portraying the Pythians, many of them, if not all of them, have never seen historic baseball before and have had no experience for it whatsoever. But we've been having practices and they've been showing up. Marcus, you've been to a few of the practices. I've been to a few of the practices. What have you seen out of the guys so far? Because we've been practicing together. Right. What have you seen out of our friends from Hamtramck here?
Well, one, they're ball players. they are.
Yeah, they are.
And they are really excited to be learning the I almost said new, I guess I should say old way of playing baseball. And we've talked a lot about the history and how the game evolved. So I think we're going to see some spirited baseball for sure.
Yeah, there are some kids that can hit on this team for absolute certainty here. They can absolutely hit, and I pitched a little bit and tried to give them a little bit of a taste of what they might be seeing, and with the limited historic baseball experience that they had, they tagged me for a few, so. They got some ball players, to be sure. They've got college athletes. They have, competitive softball players. Like these are not just actors that we, just pulled from some random call. Like these guys have been playing baseball their whole lives. And, for them to be a part of this game, and to have taken to it as well as they have. I mean, they aren't holding on to their, things and telling us to change our way. Like they're saying, you tell us what to do and we'll do it. I mean, that's been really refreshing.
Yeah, they very much want to be a part of a living history recreation and play ball.
For sure. So this is a major weekend. Again, Saturday, June 13th, Sunday, June 14th. There's activities going on all weekend long. You can imagine that, you know, everybody throughout the entire institute is going to have their eyes and ears on every part of this here, because this was a building that was important in its prime. It is a building that is important now, and it is a building that will continue to be important in the coming years as lots of different things happen, both locally and nationally. We always want to make sure we take the time to recognize the people that came before us, and honor and celebrate them. And, you know, at the same time, when we learn together, we grow together. So I'm really excited for this. So with that, I think we are going to wrap it up, and we'll get ourselves ready. We've got some new uniforms to try on. We'll see how we look in the colors of the Olympics, and you know, we're absolutely looking forward to a powerful weekend of baseball. So, Marcus, can't thank you enough for coming on board and joining me here today. And we will sign off for this episode. Look for more episodes down the line. We got a lot of really cool stuff coming up over the course of the rest of the season. So until then, strike well, be safe, and we look forward to having you on another wonderful, beautiful summer day out on Walnut Grove. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you soon.